Hey, I want to toss it back. We've got special. I want to ask the guys to stay. We've got special guests. If you want to turn around, I think we've got some special guests showing up. We're going to turn back to interviews. Brian Kolfage, We Build the Wall, is going to introduce our very special two guests that have flown in here today just to join this with you. Let's turn it back around to the back of the room. Brian, take it.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank everyone for coming out here today. This is a wonderful event down here in Southern Park, New Mexico. It's great because finally we're getting the American people acknowledge that there is a crisis down here. There's a crisis. The cartels are at the heart of this crisis. It's massivizing in the United States. We have two wonderful guests down here today that we're very proud to have down here. It's Mr. Donald Trump Jr. and his beautiful girlfriend, Kimberly. So thank you guys all for coming down here. There's a solution to this problem, and right now we are at the tip of that spear for solving this problem and fighting the problem. So thank you all.
Hi, it's great to be here today, and Don and I want to come down and really, see what's going on here, and it's really impressive what you've been able to accomplish. And thank you for your service and your dedication to the country, Brian. God bless you. I think it's really important. I think it's really important having the perspective that I do as a former prosecutor working in San Francisco, a sanctuary city. I saw all too personal, up close, what goes on when you have lawlessness and recklessness and disrespect for our laws, when people come in that are criminal recidivists and that are deported and come back in to reoffend. Let me give you an example. Kate Steinle was senselessly murdered in San Francisco by a man who was deported 5 times, had committed felonies, and he came in again only to take an innocent life. This is not a unique story. Sadly, it is a story that is repeated all too often in this country, in cities where the rule of law is not observed. And in America, and finally under President Trump, we have the right to protect our borders, to keep our children safe and our communities, and to give law enforcement and Border Patrol the resources they need to do the job that they do every day so well, working so hard to keep all of us safe. It is such an important and integral part of national security as well that we are not an open border country. And under President Trump, we will not be that. And we can really thank him for that. And everyone should keep in mind that everybody, all the prior politicians, from Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton to Chuck and Nancy, were all for building the wall and having secure borders. And then when President Trump got elected, all of a sudden they didn't like the idea. It is the height of hypocrisy. It's reckless. They have an obligation to work with the president and, in fact, make sure that this happens because it's what the American people want and deserve. Other countries are able to do it. We can't just go in and cross their borders, can we? And expect for their government to pay and support us. So this is going to stop under President Trump. He really is dedicated to this. I think you know that. Believe him, he's a man of his word. And I'm here with an incredible American patriot who is fighting every day for this country, for his father, out there doing the tough work. And I'll tell you, a family that has really put up with so much abuse and disrespect just for trying to serve their country. And actually, as Don knows, he fights for his dad because his dad is a man who honors his word. He's kept his promises and, in fact, exceeded them. And one of them is building the wall. But Don and I have traveled the country, worked so hard in 2016 to make sure that your father was elected president. Thank you for your dedication and sacrifice that you make every day to try and make all of these promises continue to come true and make sure that your father is reelected in 2020. He's as tough as his dad, and I love it. I'm so happy that we have him on our side fighting, right? They try and take him down, but let me tell you something. He ain't going down. He's the honey badger. Don, come up here.
2024. We're only worried about 2020 right now. We got to win because we want to keep the winning going, right? And thank you guys for being here. Brian, thank you so much for all your sacrifices doing this and showing really what capitalism's all about, right? This is private enterprise at its finest, doing it better, faster, cheaper than anything else. And what you guys are doing is pretty amazing. It started from a grassroots effort, and it's just doing some wonderful things for an important issue. We need a border. We need to be able to protect ourselves, our citizens, from the drug trade. We can't have a system that encourages, essentially, mass migration, all the negatives that come with that right now. When I hear some of the human stories, the abuses, the suffering that has gone on because of this crisis, it's truly heart-wrenching, and we got to prevent that from happening. And we also actually have to take care of America first. The notion that we can't take care of the homeless problem. How about the veterans issues that I'm sure you've faced in your career since your sacrifice? You know, dealing with those things and the importance of that has to be paramount. And what you finally have now is a president who's willing to fight for Americans. That was his mandate, and that's what he's been doing. He's the first politician, maybe in history, who's taken hell for actually doing all of the things that he said he would do. Since when has that become acceptable? Since when has the opposite, meaning making all sorts of promises that you have no intention of delivering on, no ability of delivering on, that's just totally okay. That's become the norm and acceptable. And it's not going to fly. And that's what the American people see. They see results. They see promises made, promises kept. And in 2016, when my father made those promises, he was just like everyone else, making promises. But now he's delivered. And that's why we need you. That's why we need you in our corner fighting. It's why we need you out there. You've seen what he's gone through. You've seen what they've even tried to do to me and the rest of his family. I think this week was emblematic of all of that. When you saw Bob Mueller, after 2 years of nonstop investigation, nonstop, 50 million spent, thousands of subpoenas, hundreds of hours of testimony, over and over, a media narrative that made no sense. And they didn't even understand the basic beginning, the basic premise of how it all started. Because they weren't investigating us or my father. They were trying to figure out how to take the DNC talking points and backfill the last 2 years of hysteria. That's all it is, guys. And if that wasn't an awakening to the American people, what we saw there, I don't know what is, guys. That's someone that's delivering from you. You got someone that's getting it done. Unprecedented numbers, all-time low Hispanic unemployment. All-time low African-American unemployment. Same for women and Asians and every group, because the reality is, despite the narrative that's being painted on the other side, Donald Trump is the president for all Americans. He's fighting for us. He's fighting so that you can live your American dream. Because really, for the last 50 years, our only net export has been that American dream. Other people in far-off lands that hate our guts, they hate our freedoms, our values, our religion, everything about us, we've sent them our American dream. Bad trade deals, stupid policies, politicians that are beholden to their lobbyists and bureaucrats. No more. We're bringing that American dream back, and we're getting to live it. And the results speak for themselves.
There'll be another half hour. Just tell them to keep.
Just look at it.
Brian Culver saw us back.
There is not a single
There's no break.
economic metric that anyone can point to where Americans are not better off today than they were 3 years ago. Thank you. I've done this. I've done this on college campuses where, let's just say, it's not exactly a hometown crowd, and they can't even answer. And yet, you see mainstream media pushing the great virtues of socialism and effectively communism. And I always ask an interesting question because, people ask me, they're like, Don, you're a guy from a rich family from New York City, you're supposed to be a Democrat. No, it is. But, yes, that's true too, but it goes deeper than that. It goes a lot deeper than that. My mother was one of those people who escaped communism. She got out of communist Czechoslovakia because she was a good athlete. Came over during the Olympics and never went back. When she got married to my father, only one of her parents was in the wedding picture. Not because they were not able to travel, but because the communists wouldn't let them both out of the country for fear that you'd lose them, so they'd keep one. They let my grandfather come over so he could walk his daughter down the aisle, but wouldn't let her mother go to her own wedding. All right? I saw it. My grandfather, whether it was premonition or what, he saw the blessings that we had growing up in this amazing country. And he wanted to make sure that we understood the other side. So I spoke Czech fluently from a very young age. And he brought me over there. I spent 6 weeks every summer there from at the age of 6 years old till he passed away, and then I kept going back. I've actually waited in the bread lines that people talk about. I've seen the oppression, what it did, the disincentive systems it had for anyone to putting in work, for people who really wanted to do it. I actually got to experience that. And today, my grandmother, who's alive, she's 93 years old. She comes over, she visits me. She visits her great-grandchildren. And she'll sit there and she'll watch CNN on TV with tears in her eyes. Now, this is not an old, frail woman. She may be physically frail at this point. But this is someone who hid in the basement of her farmhouse for 2 years during the Nazi occupation, who lived under 40 years of communism and that occupation. She's got tears in her eyes because she's worried that what she's seeing on TV, she says, Don, you don't understand. You've never lived under it for real. You can't allow this to happen. I say, I know. I promise you, I'm out there fighting. But this woman who's been through a lot, in tears, because she fears for the future of her great-grandchildren, because of what she experienced under communism and socialism and these ridiculous policies that have failed over and over, have been the leading cause of death in modern time. Hundreds, millions of people. Oppression, starvation. And she's saying, you can't allow this to come here. And I say, she makes a good point, and I never thought about it in those terms. And yet, when I see these people talk about the great virtues, I go, why has anyone not asked the Bernie crew, really any one of the, 97 candidates on the other side right now? Find one person, one, from the former Soviet Union. Find one person, more recent times, that lived in the transition of Venezuela from a thriving country to what it is today. Find one person who's lived under that system who will vouch for it. Why is it that that person doesn't exist? Why is it that these people who've never lived under those systems other than a vacation, a honeymoon in Moscow, why are those the only advocates? That in and of itself should tell you everything you need to know. So that's what's great about what's going on, whether it's here, whether it's with that. We finally have a president who's willing to fight. Someone who's not just going to take the loss because the other side wants you to. You got the wrong guy for that. Who's not going to apologize for winning, who's not going to apologize for putting America and Americans first, and who's going to keep delivering despite unprecedented incoming, despite unprecedented nonsense, despite the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on the American people. He's going to keep fighting. Yeah, I know. I mean, it was a coup. Anyone who watched on Tuesday now realized that Robert Mueller was put in there as a figurehead. He's the former FBI. He was a decorated Marine. Trump can't attack him. He had no idea what was going on in his own investigation. I was like, did he read the report? This was done by the crazies, the Andrew Weissmans of the world, who was there really excited to be at Hillary's inauguration party that night. The other ones who worked for the Clinton Foundation. They were running this sham. And if America doesn't see it, if they don't wake up, I really do fear for our future. But honestly, I see it when I come to places like this, and I speak to hardworking, dedicated Americans who just want what's best for them, their families. They get it. So despite all of the heat, despite all of the noise, they're seeing through it. And 2020 looks great. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, not because of the facts, because based on the facts, this thing should be over by now. It's not going to be easy because of what we're up against. When the mainstream media is acting as the marketing wing of the Democrat Party, when you got Hollywood and pop culture and all of these people, who, by the way, all live behind walls, but they don't want you to. That's not easy to overcome. But with your support, with your help, we're going to do it. So thank you again, Brian. Thank you, everyone. Chris, for everything that you guys are doing here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, guys, for my father, it was something he was just so excited and willing to do. And, the reality is, he's the only politician that's run in recent time. He didn't need this job. He didn't have to do this. Oh, he must have been an agent of the Russians. I'm saying, I don't know. He had it pretty good. I don't think he needed to do this. And they're still running with this because they banked their reputations. They banked their lives. They banked everything on this hoax so they could sell it to try to do damage. And I think really all they've done is shot themselves in the foot at this point because it's a disgrace and it should have never happened. If this happened in a third world country, the last 2.5 years, if this happened in a banana republic, we'd say that's terrible. But it's happening right here, and it continues to do so. And that's why we can't let the squad and the Nancy Pelosi's and the craziness that's going on, and we can't let them get away with it. Because it's not acceptable. It's not what America was founded on. It's not what America believes in. And it's certainly not what the hard-working men and women of this country want for them and for their kids and for the next generations to come. And we're not going to allow it to happen. So thank you so much for all of you, for all of your sacrifices, for everything. It means the world to us. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Come on. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Are you able to answer any questions, sir? We got to rush me out, guys. God bless you.
Stay with it. Stay with that.
Just keep looking at the camera. Don't.
Stay with it. Stay with it. Okay. Yeah, toss back here. Okay, can we hear a round of applause for Donald Trump Jr. for coming all the way down here? We told you we had a surprise for you. If the